Kids for Love. It's a project, a mission, and a radio show. Join Deborah Beauvais as she highlights her young co-hosts. Listen to their inspirational stories in starting nonprofits and their life work to help other kids in need. We'll learn from these conscious kids how serving others can heal our own lives while spreading love to the masses. We invite you to join in for spirited conversation filled with creative ideas and possibilities to start your own mission. Let's raise the bar together and cultivate a kinder world by getting inspired to help others in need. Kids for Love Project, celebrating kids that empower others.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, this is Deborah Beauvais, founder and owner of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. We are a syndicated, full-service radio station with all the bells and whistles. You can listen to us with our apps. You can go online. You can listen and ask Alexa. Wherever you are, whatever state, whatever country, you can listen to this show and all the other shows. Well, I am so excited because I have a special presentation at 6 p.m. today for the kids. And a little bit, I want to do a shout out to Denise Flagg, who actually was the person that introduced us through Wendy Fashawn. And she mentioned about Jack, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we need to celebrate his book, and we need to have him on the kids show. So we do have Jack Dalton with us. And one other little mention for Denise is she has a digital magazine called The Bubbler, and it's by and for kids, and I want to give that website out. Bubbler is B-U-B-B, B as in boy, U-B-B-L-A-H, thebubbler.online, and I'll give that out later on too. So without further ado, I'm really enthused. My co-host today is Jack Dalton. He is from New Hampshire. He's a conservational kid, and he ended up starting this big fundraiser and all the different things to support the orangutans, and to keep them or get them off the endangered list. So he can explain much better. So welcome to the show, Jack.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Jack. I'm 13 years old, and I am known as the Kid Conservationist.
Yes, yes. And we were saying, Bob and I, that you're so polished in your speaking, and I get that from probably starting for years now. You started at 8 years old, correct?
That's right. I was just 8 years old when I was inspired to want to take action to help orangutans and help really all of conservation. Okay, so
has it broadened since you started? It sounds like it's okay, and you learned about palm oil and deforestation. So, what how did it all begin? Like, did you talk with your parents, or were you thinking about it for a while?
Well, my parents absolutely, yes. They played a big role in helping me with my conservation work, and without them, I probably wouldn't have even had the opportunity to be where I was when I started it. So let me give a little context here. My parents and we traveled around the country for my dad's job. And one of the places that we lived was in Memphis, Tennessee. So all these travels, they gave me many experiences out in nature and experiencing, this was all across America. And it was really neat, especially because I was so young. But probably my favorite place that we lived was Memphis, Tennessee, mainly because of the Memphis Zoo. So when we lived in Memphis, we would go to the zoo there almost every single week, like a couple times a week, right? It was awesome. It was a great zoo. They had lions, tigers, elephants, giraffes, pandas. But my favorite animal above all of those was always the orangutan. In particular, one little baby orangutan named Rowan. So when I met Rowan the orangutan, I fell in love. I looked into his eyes. I saw his red hair, which I also share. I'm a ginger, by the way. So I looked into his eyes. I saw his red hair just like me, and I was inspired, and I fell in love. So when it was Rowan's birthday party, his third birthday party, It was all about how palm oil and deforestation were causing orangutans to go extinct because of deforestation, palm oil production, and ultimately habitat loss. So I was inspired, and I knew I wanted to do something to help them. And the zookeeper who set that all up is Lexi Yang. So if you're listening, remember that now because she'll be important later on.
Okay. Wow. And that's how it all started. You had this connection with the orangutan. And how old was she at that time, or he?
Rowan was only 3 years old. It was his birthday, 3 years old.
Rowan, okay. All right. And is he still with us? Is he still there?
Yes, he is. So orangutans can live to be around 50 years old in the wild.
Oh my God!
Actually. So yeah, they have a pretty long lifespan, which is great. Meaning Rowan and I will get to grow up together for a very long time.
Oh wow! And so, how many times have you been back to Memphis to see him?
Well, that first trip to that whole experience there was my first time at the Memphis Zoo. But after that, only a year later, I went back. I dropped off. I collected sheets and enrichment toys and soap and a whole bunch of stuff that the orangutans needed. I collected them from my friends and my family locally. I took all those down to Tennessee, and I dropped them off at the Memphis Zoo and gave them to the orangutans there, along with the help of the zookeeper, Lexi. Ring a bell? She was the one who helped me set that all up, and as well, I got to interview her on my YouTube channel. So that was my second time back. And after that, for my third time back, it was, I believe, another year or two later. And again, it was for Rowan's birthday party. This was all, every time we went, it was around the time of Rowan's birthday. So that was always fun, getting to relive that very first experience that inspired me. But on that third time there, actually, I got to make a documentary with the Memphis Zoo. So me and Lexi, we made a documentary about how just one little action, one little birthday party for an orangutan inspired my work as the Kid Conservationist. So I've been back to the Memphis Zoo twice after that initial visit.
Wow. And so when you went back, when you went back home, now was it, with the kids that were around you, friends and cousins and things of that sort, were you telling them back when you were 8 years old what you were feeling and what you wanted to do? And did they say, yeah, wow, Jack, and we want to help you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think those are probably my biggest supporters. Not even, of course, adults are helpful and all, but the kids are the ones who are really inspiring to me because I talked to them once and all of a sudden they're going around talking to everyone they see, hey, do you know what palm oil is? Palm oil is in over 50% of grocery store foods and cosmetics. And it's causing orangutans to go extinct because to make room for palm oil, they need to cut and burn down the rainforest. So it's really neat because the kids have been my biggest supporters, in particular my cousins, my friends, and my family around me. So that's been, the kids have actually been some of the most supportive of my conservation journey.
Very good. And so now that you've brought this awareness to what's happening, have you talked with companies? And I understand that some of these companies are big corporate money-making companies, and they may not be listening to people like yourself. Have you had the opportunity to talk with any of the people making decisions so that they can change their ways? And the reason I say that is because there's so much work to be done on this earth where the human being has really destroyed a lot of the land, a lot of the animals, a lot of our food. Everything is contaminated. It's a fact that there's 800,000 chemicals just in this country, including the air, everything. And like you mentioned, makeup, that's another. And so bottom line is, have you been able to speak with those that are making decisions to get rid of palm oil or stop cutting down all the trees for that?
That's actually, I'm glad you asked, because that was the very first thing that I did to help orangutans. So right after that visit to the Memphis Zoo, my mom was homeschooling me at the time, and actually a part of our homeschooling curriculum was writing letters. And I decided, well, instead of writing a fake letter, I'm going to write a letter to companies, and I'm going to tell them about how what they're doing is causing orangutans and so many other animals to become extinct, and how sad it was making me. So my very first action was writing letters to those companies about how palm oil and deforestation were harming our environment and really our world. So I got responses from all three of the companies. They all said they had policies in place. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of them implement those policies as well as they should have by now. But which is why over the course of my conservation work, I've written more letters, and I've encouraged people to also reach out to those companies. And actually this weekend is World Orangutan Day, which I'm really excited about, because for that I'm going to write letters to more companies telling them about their usage of palm oil. And I encourage others to do the same. World Orangutan Day is coming up. So please reach out to companies, do whatever you can.
Yes, because voices are powerful, and the more, and even purchasing is very good too. Whether it is makeup or whether it is food or whatever product that we're using in the home for cleaning and things of that sort, it's important to read the ingredients and not buy the products that have the palm oil in it. And then they have to start doing something different because they're not making the money that they planned on. So you know all this, and I'm amazed at your knowledge at your age. It almost makes me think, Jack, have you have you thought about running for a local position? Like some of these kids that are coming up that are really making a difference on the globe are running for congressmen and different things like that in the local area, to start having a bigger voice so that these corporations will do something.
Well, currently, I'm too young to run for an official government office.
That's right.
But for the for the junior government offices, I haven't actually taken any steps towards joining those. Instead, I've been connecting with organizations all around the world as their youth ambassadors, so representing them and what they do, as well as contributing towards their missions. And I believe that's one of the best ways to amplify your voice as well as the voice of others, because ultimately when we all work together, that's when we're going to make the biggest difference. So although I haven't necessarily specifically considered a kid government office, I've kind of worked on my own solution to that, which is different from that. Yeah.
Good. I like that. So let's take a few minutes, and can you explain, especially for kids that are, whether they're listening now or going to listen later, because this will be not only aired Wednesday, but as well as Saturday, and you can find all the information when you go on dreamvision7radio.com and look at the Kids for Love Project show. Tell us more about the orangutan. What is different from, say, a gorilla, and what are they, what's their habitat as far as, their day-to-day and what they like to eat, all those kinds of things.
So orangutans, let me just start off with my favorite fact about them is their red hair. They're the only red-headed apes. I feel a special relationship with them. So that's my favorite fact about them. So orangutans are a red-headed ape. There are three species: the Bornean, the Sumatran, and the Tapanuli. All three of the species are critically endangered, but the most critically endangered is the Tapanuli, which only has around 700 estimated left in the wild. We don't know for sure, and that's because orangutans are a very elusive species. They're solitary, so they only live just one orangutan or with their young in the wild, but when mothers have their babies, they stay with their babies for the longest out of any animal in the entire animal kingdom besides us humans. And so that's really cool. They're around 8 years old before they go out into the wild on their own. So their mother teaches them everything. They make a new bed every night. Their mom teaches them how to do that. They look for different fruits like the durian fruit. They eat insects with sticks as utensils. And they're a really neat animal who takes up a lot of space to roam. They spend, I believe it's over 80% of their life up in the trees in the only two countries that they live in, which is Indonesia and Malaysia, on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra. So orangutans are a really neat species. There's so many facts about them, and I really encourage you to look up orangutans on your own. There's a lot of great sources on orangutans, so I encourage you to check those out. Look up more about orangutans. They're a really fascinating species. But unfortunately, some of their adaptations work to their disadvantage. Like, because they take up so much space to roam, it unfortunately causes orangutans to be, it causes orangutans, when their habitat is destroyed, to have bigger impact, because unfortunately that means their less space to roam is even more confined to them.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh, let's take a break early, a few minutes early, because we're having a little feedback sound, and we're going to clear that up when we come back for a break. So, Bob, can we do a break a little bit early?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's do that, and we'll be right back.
We accept each other, kids for love. We are kind. We are gonna change the world, one friend, one action at a time.
Invite the Kids for Love Project, an enrichment program, into your school, classroom, or wellness center. Kids for Love Project is focused on teaching kids unconditional love for self and others. The project is a journey into self-discovery. It consists of fun, creative tools to learn self-love, like I choose love, I am love, I stand in love, and utilizing one's energies with reconnective healing and tuning into one's intuition for inner guidance, plus connecting to our natural surroundings. Kids who hold love for self do not bully or harm others. Let's cultivate a kinder world that holds compassion for all. Teaching the power of love to our kids is the way. To learn more or to bring Kids for Love Project to your school, contact Deborah Beauvais, 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to our Kids for Love Project on Facebook.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first grade teacher Caitlin Royd DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowdfunded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Kids for Love. It's a project, a mission, and a radio show, and it's on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Come join Deborah Beauvais and young co-hosts every Wednesday at 4 p.m. and 4 a.m. Eastern to celebrate kids making a difference. We invite kids to share stories of those helping others, and teachers can share new school programs that are creating harmony amongst the kids. Let's raise the bar together and cultivate a kinder world. Kids for Love Project, celebrating kids who are helping others.
How
can you make a difference on this crazy planet? Listen to nature-inspired stories and interviews with environmental educators for some new ideas. Sustainable Living News writer, nature walker, and youth educator Wendy Natterney-Fashon hosts the Story Walking Radio Hour to talk about issues that matter and to introduce you to people who are coming up with creative, sensible solutions. Let's engage with Earth, with Spirit, and with one another, heart to heart, to solve problems and co-create more meaningful life stories. Tune in to Nature's Loving Vibes every Monday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. here on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
We can make a difference. We are gonna change the world one friend, one action at a time.
That is the Kids for Love song, sung by actually 4 of my grandchildren a few years ago, and it's all tied into the Kids for Love project as well as the Paper Doll Kids book. And speaking of books, we are with Jack Dalton, and just for a second I want to give out the number. Hold on. This is a live show. Anyone that would like to call, the number is 833-220-1200. We do have a caller, but I want to give out Jack's address, which is kidsconservationist.com. kidsconservationist.com, and he has written a book, Kawan, the Orangutan, Lost in the Rainforest. So we're going to talk about that, but I believe we have Daniel. Is it Daniel that's on the line? Welcome to the show. We have a caller? Yes, hi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? I had a question for Jack. I know some companies are starting to use palm oil substitutes, and I'm curious, with Jack and his expertise, what he thinks the likelihood and timeline of these major companies using this palm oil substitute to help protect the rainforest where the orangutans are.
Well, thank you for that question. It's definitely, substitutes to palm oil are on the way. Actually, some of them are actually here. So there's this company based out of New York called C16 Biosciences, and what they're doing is they're working to create an alternative to palm oil in a lab from yeast. So that's really cool because, first of all, it can be mass-produced, it's super versatile, and overall, it actually can be made quicker than grown palm oil. So it has a lot of benefits. The only downside as of right now is cost. And that's one of the biggest draws to palm oil for companies is the cost. But luckily, C16 Biosciences, they're working on creating this alternative. And it's already in some face oils and some soaps. And they're working on collaborating with more companies, more organizations, working to get their alternative into any product, a lot of products in the future. So I believe that their alternative to palm oil, which is called Torula oil, is actually the future of conservation and protecting orangutans in particular. So I'm really excited for that, and that's the biggest alternative that I'm aware of to palm oil right now.
Great. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Okay. So what was the name of the oil, this new oil that they're creating?
The oil is called Torula oil, Torula, and I personally love the name. I think it's very catchy.
Yes,
but it's created by C16 Biosciences. I encourage you, there's a really comprehensive video on my YouTube channel. It's called, on my YouTube channel, Kid Conservationist, so please go check that out. It's my most recent video. It has a lot of great information about that oil and about what C16 is doing and how. So I encourage you to check that out. It's really fascinating.
Very good. And so you're saying they're already making it. It's just that it's not in large amounts because of the cost. So how can we get the cost down would be my first thought.
Well, that's probably, I believe, is the biggest thing that C16 is working on right now. They've nearly perfected their oil recipe, and so right now they're just working on how they can do that in an even better, more cost-effective way, and how that can be a bigger draw to companies.
Excellent. So before the break, you were talking about the orangutans and their environment and what they eat and all, and I love that they keep the babies for that length of time and teach them and all. Was there anything else that you wanted to share about that particular species?
I mean, I could go on and on about orangutans because I love them so much. They're such a unique species, and they're part of the greater ape family. And as some of you may know, they're also a great ape is also us humans. So we're very closely related to orangutans. We share about 97% of our DNA, which is a really impressive number. It's only beaten by a couple other species of primates. So it's a really unique species. Their relationship with us humans is as well a very, very distinct feature of orangutans, and you can actually tell when you look at them. Their feet are similar, their hands are similar. One thing that you definitely notice is different, though, is their arms. Orangutans' arm span is actually double their height, and if you didn't know, us humans, our arm span is the same as our height. So that's one big difference, and that's an adaptation that orangutans have because, as I mentioned, they spend over 80% of their lives in the trees. So therefore, they need to be able to get around those trees easier, and they do that by using their long arms.
That's incredible. Now, are they more docile than say, the gorilla or the ape, or, you know?
Well, that's kind of, it's tough to say, but in comparison to a gorilla, I believe an orangutan would be considered more docile. And that's because a gorilla, it travels in packs. So in particular, when you see a gorilla, it's probably with its pack, and if it were to see you, it might end up attacking you, but that would be to defend its pack. For orangutans, if you see a mother and a baby orangutan, it's fine if they're up in the trees, observe them, take a couple pictures, but don't spend too much time with them. And the odds are they won't attack you. I'm pretty sure there hasn't been any fatalities with orangutans, even ones that are in human care, because there are orangutans that are in human care at zoos or at rehabilitation centers. But for the most part, orangutans are extremely docile. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the strength. It's just that they don't use it to hurt you.
Very good point you're making with the gorillas because they're in packs, so that makes a huge difference. And it sounds like the orangutans are more, they have more of the instinct of, the mother instinct, which usually comes with more compassion. And so that would lead me to think that they would not be aggressive in any way unless they were put into a situation where they could not do anything but be aggressive, if you follow me.
Yeah, and that's kind of, it's similar with male orangutans, where it's like well, this is my territory, and I believe you'd have to do more research on this, so take this with a grain of salt. But I have seen from several sources that orangutans, males, when they see an area that's already inhabited by another male, they'll go out and they'll look for their own area. Or if there's two males in the same area, they'll typically fight it out, and that's really the only time that orangutans would fight is for area.
Fascinating. All right. Well, I mean, I love all the details and all the facts because that helps others, including myself, understand. So let's shift a little bit, and where they're not in the U.S. and I've got a sense, and from reading and such, that you have been traveling around the world. Now, do you go with your parents, and where have you actually been in the countries where they are?
Actually, I was lucky enough to, back in October, go to Indonesia, the only home of orangutans besides Malaysia. So, yes, I did get to go there with my parents, which I believe they also enjoyed very much. It was, I couldn't imagine they didn't enjoy seeing wild orangutans. And then also that trip was with not just my parents, but also Lexi Yang. Remember her? She's the illustrator of my book. She's a very talented artist. As well, she's the person who first taught me about orangutans and how they were critically endangered. I've spoken with her on my YouTube channel. We've done documentaries together. So we also got to go to Indonesia together. And not only her, but the rest of the Orangutan Alliance team, one of the organizations that I'm the youth ambassador for, we together got to go to Indonesia, see orangutans in the wild. We got to help plant some of the trees that we worked to raise the funds for, which I believe is over 13,000, 14,000 by now. So we got to help plant some of those trees. We got to see wild orangutans. We even got to visit a local Indonesian school where we got to give the students copies of my children's book, and we got to speak with them through an interpreter because they spoke Indonesian, and it was an all-around great experience.
What an opportunity, Jack. Just the opportunity to go to that country, then with your parents, then with the team, and seeing the orangutans' habitat, and then making a difference with planting trees. I mean, that is phenomenal. Good for you. I mean, we need to make copies of you.
For me, I think the best part of the trip was that tree planting. And that's because over the past, whatever it is now, around 4 or 5 years, that I've been doing this work, I've been doing all this work. I've been spreading awareness. I've been public speaking, doing presentations. I've written my book. I've donated copies. I've raised thousands of dollars for orangutan conservation. But that moment right there was, in my opinion, what it all built up to for me personally. That was like my biggest personal victory, was seeing what the work I was doing was leading to, and planting those trees with my own 2 hands, knowing that they would very soon evolve into a forest that orangutans and animals could soon return to, that they could live in once again. That was really inspiring to me.
I bet, yeah. So when you mentioned about fundraising, are you raising money for a specific organization or nonprofit?
Well, I do fundraising for several different nonprofits. I'm currently connected with 4 international organizations who work to protect orangutans and do conservation work, and those are Borneo Orangutan Survival, Orangutan Alliance, Orangutan Republic, and Plastic Pollution Coalition. So I've worked with all 4 of those, helped to do fundraising, lots of different projects. And I'm really proud of all the work that I've done with each of those organizations. But for fundraising, the funds for tree planting go to Orangutan Alliance, who then do all the, sending the funds where they need to go to get the trees planted. And then that also comes from the sales of my book, goes towards those tree planting funds. and as well there's the Orangutan Sanctuary Islands, where all some funds go there. That's with Borneo orangutan survival, and what they do is they work to rehabilitate orangutans and hopefully release many of them back into the wild to help rebuild the orangutan population. With Orangutan Republic, they have an education program, which they call Orangutan Caring Scholarships, where they send an Indonesian student to college. And so far, through my BAGS fundraisers, I've been able to help send an Indonesian student to veterinary school in full. So,
oh my God, that's amazing!
Yeah,
wow.
I'm really proud of all I've been able to fundraise. Even adopting symbolically 10 orangutans, 11 orangutans in the past. So I'm really proud of all that I've been able to do through those organizations. And connecting with organizations is one of the most important parts, not just of my conservation work, but of any conservation work.
You should be proud of yourself. And look what you're doing for the earth, for the people, for the animals, for nature, for everything, the ecosystem, all of that ties in, and you're one person that has started this and making a huge difference. So I have to ask you, Jack, what are you going to focus on when you go to college? I mean, do you see yourself a lifetime of conservation and doing these types of things?
You know what? What I want to do in college is still something that I'm trying to figure out. I don't exactly know, but part of my conservation work is I've been able to realize a lot of the things that not only that I'm good at, but also that I enjoy. And that's whether that's video editing and working with technology, that's something I might be interested in, or maybe doing something to do with animals, being a veterinarian or working at a zoo, or even being like a tourism guide somewhere, and that would entail moving to Indonesia, hopefully. So, you know, that could be interesting.
Yes, it could.
Well, I found a passion in public speaking through this conservation work, and maybe that's something I'll want to continue when I'm older, fundraising. So there's a lot of different aspects, not just of my conservation work, but of things that I found that I very much enjoy that I feel could translate over into my professional career later on in life.
Right. I'm so glad that you're thinking of all these pieces. You're really quite mature in where what you're doing and where you're going with it all. And one of the key things that you shared was you want to enjoy your work. And that's unfortunately many of, the human race are involved with doing jobs that they hate, that they go to. And I'm a believer that if you choose a career, and sometimes it takes a while for it to become successful, but if you see that and feel that and do the work, then you're making a difference, but you're having fun doing it. And I'm saying it's work too. There's no doubt that there's work involved, but it's enjoying because of the outcome. So I
One of my
commend
favorite quotes is, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And when I first started this conservation work, that was something that I really, really, really took into account. And I always actually, briefly before I started my conservation journey, I decided I want to start a YouTube channel. So I started a YouTube channel. I named it. I made 2 videos on there by the time that I went to the Memphis Zoo. And when I went to that zoo, I wrote a letter to companies, and after that, I deleted that channel and made a new one, and I called it Kid Conservationist. And that was one of the first things that I did with my conservation work, was creating that YouTube channel, because that YouTube channel was really everything that embodies my work. It's spreading education, but it's also doing what I enjoy, and that's a really key part, not just for me personally, but also for anybody, especially kids who are interested in getting, taking action, not just in conservation, but for any field of work. So.
Exactly. Well, we are up for a break. Everyone, there's still time to call in, talk with Jack, ask him a question. Anything, you can call him up and just thank him in gratitude for all he's doing. Our number here is 833-220-1200, 833-220-1200. Bob will put you through, and we'll be back more with Jack Dalton and all the work he's doing. When we come back, we're going to talk about his book. And again, anyone that wants to buy the book or learn more, go on his site. It's kidconservationist.com. And the book will talk about that, and then some tips that will help kids that would like to, maybe they're thinking about doing something and they need a tip on the first step. So we'll be back.
We accept each other, kids for love. We are kind. We are gonna change the world one friend, one action at a time.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are you searching for a way to help create global change? Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's vision is to have an eclectic group of radio hosts dedicated to educating, enlightening, and helping humankind with positive messages and tools that enhance lives using different modalities and programs. If you would like to join our team and help illuminate the universe, call Deborah at 508-226-1723 or Deborah at dreamvision7radio.com.
Kids for Love. It's a project, a mission, and a radio show, and it's on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Come join Deborah Beauvais and young co-hosts every Wednesday at 4 p.m. and 4 a.m. Eastern to celebrate kids making a difference. We invite kids to share stories of those helping others, and teachers can share new school programs that are creating harmony amongst the kids. Let's raise the bar together and cultivate a kinder world. Kids for Love Project, celebrating kids who are helping others.
EDESIA is a U.S. nonprofit dedicated to the dream of ending childhood malnutrition for millions of children around the world. Through the manufacture of Plumpy Nut and other nutrient-rich, peanut-based, ready-to-use foods, EDESIA has already delivered life and hope to nearly 1 million children in over 26 developing countries. To find out how you can join EDESIA's dream of ending childhood malnutrition, please visit edesiaglobal.org.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
We can make a difference. We are gonna change the world one friend, one action at a time.
And we are back with my co-host, Jack Dalton, who's the Kid Conservationist and author of Kawan, the Orangutan-Lost in the Rainforest. So tell us about what happened that you said to yourself, I want to write a book, and how old were you at that time?
Well, when I was about 10 years old, or even when I was 9, but we'll call it 10, I had been doing my conservation work for about a year, and I was like, well, something I knew I wanted to do from the beginning was I wanted to write a book, because I enjoyed reading more than anything else. That's what I would do almost every day, was reading. I would read. That was how I passed my time. So I'd read, and I'd also enjoy writing. That was something I enjoyed doing very much. So, as I mentioned earlier, my conservation work is built around doing things that I enjoy very much. So, I decided I wanted to write a book. I didn't know what I wanted to write my book about besides to do with orangutans, and that I wanted it to be a children's book so I could inspire kids from a young age to love orangutans, so that eventually they too could be as passionate and in love with them as I am. So when I wrote my book, I took those things into account. There were very many drafts, and from there, after I wrote it, sent it to an editor and eventually formatter until my printer sent it to the printer. And the day I got the first rough draft copy of the book, the one that where all the pages weren't bound together, it was just a cover with a bunch of pages stuffed in the middle. I was so excited because I realized that I was holding the illustrated book with the illustrations done by Lexi Yang, of course, because she's a very important part of my conservation journey. So Lexi Yang did the illustrations, and holding that copy with her illustrations and the book that I had wrote in my hands for the very first time was so exciting. So when a couple months later, the first about 1,000 books came in, I was so excited. And I immediately started selling them. And to this day, I've sold over 2,800 copies, and therefore, resulting 2,800 trees have been planted because of this book.
Incredible, Jack. That's amazing.
Planted.
Yes.
Because of it.
Wow. Well, that I'm just digesting and processing that you have done just with the book alone. Well, and so the kids can get the book by going on the kidconservationist.com. What would you, well, first of all, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing balancing your schoolwork with your work with, with your all your awareness work and everything you're doing for the orangutans?
It's tough to balance everything. There's a lot on my plate as a kid conservationist between my schoolwork, the homework that I have to do, and the stuff that I also have to do for Kid Conservationist and helping orangutans. It's a lot. It's all very rewarding, but it is a lot.
Sure.
Luckily, my school and the people around me are very supportive of my conservation work. My school has been really flexible with my schedule, in particular the teachers who I work with to make sure everything gets in either on time or with an extension. And that includes my work from the 2 weeks that I was away from Indonesia. And actually, the week after I came home from Indonesia, I had COVID. So I was away for 3 weeks straight, but one of those I was home the whole week. So my teachers were really helpful with helping me get as much of that schoolwork done during that week period that I had COVID. Luckily, I didn't have it too bad, and I was able to get some quite a bit of that makeup work done. So my teachers were really helpful, even though I had missed a lot of in-class time and I needed a lot of explaining done.
Yes. Well, I believe we have another caller, Jack. Is it Lori?
Okay.
I hear a voice, too. Lori, are you there?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't think you guys could hear us.
Yes, I can. So anytime like that when you call in, you can just say hello if you'd like. But thank you for calling. And do you have a question? You're in Massachusetts, I see. And do you have a question or a thought for Jack?
Yeah, so my two sons, we're actually friends with Jack. We've known him for a while, and we're very, very proud of him. And we love listening and following him on his journey. And my sons, Ian and Ray, are here, and we've been listening along. And they wanted to ask their buddy Jack a question while he was on the show.
Sure.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when you get older?
Hi, Ian. Hi, Ray. Thank you guys for coming on and asking a question. When I get older, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I'm going to do something with animals. Whatever I do, I want to do it with animals because I love animals, in particular orangutans, but really all animals. I want to do whatever I can to help them. So when I get older, hopefully my career can help carry on with that love for them.
Well, you've got plenty of time to figure that out, but you're on the right path, that's for sure. On the right path.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Yeah, what can we do to help orangutans too?
Well, the first thing that you want to do is talk to people. Just tell them about orangutans. Tell them about the issues that their species faces, because that's the biggest thing you can do is talk to people. I always say education is the first step. So talk to people, tell them about what they can do, and from there, tell them that they should check labels. That includes you guys. I know you do this, but a lot of people don't, so I encourage everyone to, when the next time that you're in your kitchen, which hopefully sometime today or tomorrow, next time you're in your kitchen, you can check labels, see if a product has palm oil or really any word that contains the word palm. Then try and avoid it next time you're at the grocery store and look for a product that doesn't have the word palm on its ingredients list. Because by not buying products with palm oil, you are driving down the demand for companies to buy more palm oil to put in their products, and you're telling them that you don't want this harmful product in the things that you buy. And that includes not just foods, but also the shampoos and the soaps that you use in the shower. So I'm not saying don't buy shampoo because you need shampoo. I want you smelling good. But definitely look for alternatives to the stuff you would traditionally buy and look for stuff that wouldn't have palm oil in it.
Very good.
That sounds
thank you.
I know.
Yeah, thank you, Ann and Ray and Laurie, for calling in. I appreciate it, guys. They're always my biggest supporters, so big shout out to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We only.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay, how old are the kids?
They're 10 and 8.
Great. I love it. I love it that they're so interested, and I love that Jack has really brought them into the fold of what he's doing and getting them excited over making a difference in saving the animals and ourselves for sure. So thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, we only have a few minutes, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, Jack, is have you thought about having chapters in different states, having other kids start up their own, and actually tying it in with you and what you're doing?
I think that's a great question because ultimately I'm currently known as a kid conservationist, but anybody can be a kid conservationist. And even if you're an adult, you can still be a kid at heart. You can still be a kid who does conservation work, even if you're an adult. And that just goes to show that anybody can make a difference. So I was thinking, a lot of people ask me, what are you going to do once you are no longer a kid? What are you going to do when you're legally an adult, when you turn 18? So I'm usually like, well, I'm not sure. But when I think about it, I'm like, well, I know that I want to empower other youth, or really anybody, all people, to do conservation work. So I'm thinking of rebranding from Kid Conservationist to Kid Conservationists with a plural. Kid Conservationist, conservationist being plural. And that's because it's not just one kid conservationist. Everybody is a kid conservationist. So having a group of kid conservationists together, I think, can be really powerful. And I think that's the next steps in the next couple of years for my project. And opening up chapters, like you said, in different, not just states, but also countries all around the world.
That's right. That's right, and I can see that happening and unfolding, and then just getting larger, and that's larger and larger. And then your education is really key, because a lot of people don't know about the orangutans and their habitat and everything that comes with that, and they're not familiar with palm oil. You know, if you're someone that's eating organic or eating well, you're reading or have allergies. You know, some of the kids have a peanut allergy. Some have celiac, like myself, and so you're reading labels all the time. So that education is really key, and it sounds like you're doing an excellent job in teaching, and Lori's boys are a perfect example of that. So we're out of time. I'd love to have you back in the future and seeing what you're up to and how you're doing with all that. We'll share your videos with our social media till the end of the month. To get that buzz even going larger. And just one line, what do you need? What do you need, Jack, in your conservationist work?
I need everybody to take the first step, and after you take the first step, take another step. Keep taking steps and do whatever you can to not only educate others, but also educate yourself, research, and learn what you can do and what others can do, and ultimately together we can all make a difference.
Perfect. I love that. Perfect. All right, everyone, share this show. Share it with your friends, your cousins, your siblings, the neighbors. Share and listen to the show so you can get an understanding of what Jack has created and what he's doing, and then get inspired to do the same, whether it's the orangutans or another animal or something else. But together we can all make a difference. Until we meet again, thank you so much, Jack. You're phenomenal. And everyone, stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you so much, everybody. And please check out kidconservationist.com, my YouTube channel, Kid Conservationist, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that. So thank you. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, follow, all that. So, and please buy my book. It plants a tree.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everyone, bye for now.
Until the next time, Kids for Love Project challenges everyone to create a way of serving others in need. Whether it's a nonprofit or helping kids in your neighborhood, we can all make a difference. The gift received in giving of self heals everyone and everything on the planet. Let's unite and build a universal circle of kids, all making a difference for a brighter world. Kids for Love Project, celebrating kids that empower others. To learn more, go to our Kids for Love Project Facebook page.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.